Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new year of Sports Talk Philadelphia. But it's not no ordinary year. It's actually the 25th anniversary of the show here at LaSalle. So that's amazing. So we're looking forward to another great year of the show. But for this episode, we have a lot to discuss going over the whole summer of Philly sports. So with that being said, let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and I am your host, Brayden, and I am joined by two other guests here, my other panelist, Riley Kavchuk. Riley, how are you?
I'm great. Excited to be back for year two.
Okay, and over here, Tyler Farmer, how are you?
Doing great, man. Ready to get back to it,
Heck yeah. So that being said, we have talked about Eagles. It's the first topic. A lot has happened over the off season. We'll first start with that, you guys. A lot has happened. I would say the Eagles have been very active in this off season. We can first talk about who we've got. Signing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back. I know it was great for his secondary, and we drafted some new secondaries here, and Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. How are you guys feeling about this so far, these supple signings?
For me, I feel like the secondary was the biggest need in the offseason. This secondary could not stop a nosebleed last year. It was terrible. It was trash. Let's just call it what it was. So it was very important for them to attack that this offseason and bring back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, draft Quinion Mitchell and Coop DeJean. You can see they kind of need, they need some time to kind of gel together, but I think by the end of the year, we're going to see a much more improved secondary than what we saw to end last season.
Oh, definitely. Well, with what you said, Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, they're rookies. Let's be honest, rookies, it takes some time, especially in the secondary. It will be tough for them, but I think with just the veterans we have on our team, Darius Slay, that's one of guys that Quinion Mitchell has looked up to the most, he said, going into the draft. So I think with our older guys, they'll develop them. And I think, like you said, by the end of the year, we should have some nice new corners because we know this secondary needs it. So that being said, we have some more offseason acquisitions. We have Saquon Barkley, Chanel's great one, and the recent addition of Jahan Dotson. So, Saquon, how do you guys feel about this so far?
So last year we ended up on the show talking about some of the potential new drafts that we were going to get, but who we didn't mention was Barkley, and the fact that we did get Barkley was a great addition to the Eagles, especially in their last game alone. He had 3 touchdowns, he had an amazing offensive performance, and just seeing that there gives us hope that we can get further than what we did last year, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I know with Jahan Dotson, he wasn't super involved in the last game. We'll get to that later. But I think it's a good move, especially for that third receiver. Tyler, how do you feel about Jahan coming to the Eagles?
I think at the end of the year, once he's really comfortable in the system, it's going to make this offense unstoppable. You know you're going to have to worry about A.J. Brown. You know you're going to have to worry about Devontae Smith. Your third receiver, Jahan Dotson, is going to be lined up against every team's third best corner, and this kid can fly. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, while these guys can run down, speed is not their strength. Jahan Dotson, that is his strength. So he is going to really push and put pressure on a lot of those defenses and a lot of those secondaries once he gets more comfortable into the offense.
Exactly, and he has a connection already. He's from Happy Valley. He's a Penn State guy. There's a lot of Penn State guys on the team. So, yeah, looking forward to that. But now there has been some notable people that have retired, Jason Kelsey, as we know, and Fletcher Cox. There's going to be big holes to fill, and as we saw last game, it's in question right now with these two. How do you guys feeling about these guys retiring and their replacements?
Yeah, losing Jason Kelsey, of course, was a big thing for everyone, even if you weren't an Eagles fan. It was upsetting seeing him go. And the other factor we had to think about was who is going to step in Kelsey's place, because he's been doing it for so many years. So that's definitely something they are going to have to find as they keep going forward, and it's better to do that in the beginning of the season than later on. But there's a couple possibilities for people to step up to where he was, but for now, it's just a see it and do it situation.
Yeah, I know Cam Jurgens is right now looking to be that replacement, that guy. I know he's working with Jason Kelsey last season and trying to really develop him. Good news is the Eagles have one of the best offensive line coaching staff in the league. So let's hope that can be fixed this season. And with Fletcher Cox, unfortunately, it was sad to see him go. He's a team hero. But we have a lot of guys for that position. I mean, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, who looks like a monster. Potentially, this guy could be one of the best defensive tackles in the league. But with that being said, we can move on to the game. Last game, Eagles versus Packers in Brazil, in Sao Paulo. They won 34-29, and there was a lot that happened that game. Going over it, Hurts, 278 yards, 2 TDs, and unfortunately, 2 picks. And then Barkley had a great performance, 132 total yards and 3 TDs, and A.J. Brown doing his normal thing, 5 recs for 119 and 1 touchdown. So let's first talk about the game overall. Did we like the Brazil game or not really? Riley, what do you think?
It was definitely interesting going over there. It was a scary game. I'm not going to lie. It was really scary. I'm pretty sure we had like 2 turnovers within like the first half. So watching it was just like a typical Eagles game. Don't know what to expect. But I feel like the outcome was basically how we expect the Eagles to play. We go through that loop. It's like, team's doing great. I hate my team. Okay, we won.
Yeah, Tyler, how do you feel about the Sao Paulo game?
I think, you kind of got to break it down. When you start looking at the offense, the turnovers were a bit of a concern for me because that was kind of the bugaboo for the offense last year. So you were hoping that you could kind of get that cleaned up. The fumble, that will get cleaned up, but Hurts' interceptions, as much as I love them, those were 2 terrible picks, especially the second one. Cardinals sin of a quarterback, don't throw across your body. Saquon obviously showed why we paid him all that money that we did. He was incredible, over 130 yards, 3 touchdowns, A.J. Brown doing his thing. But, as much as I am concerned about the turnovers, at the same time, the offense with those turnovers still put up 34 points. So you clean those turnovers up, now we're talking about an offense capable of putting up 40, 50 burgers on some teams if they're capable. Defensively, a lot of new faces, a lot of new pieces, new defensive coordinator as well. But it was good to see this team at the same time get stops when they needed to. So as long as the defense at least bends but doesn't break, I think we'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very interesting game. It was kind of weird. Everyone was kind of slipping, which I didn't like. I think the field wasn't best quality. It's meant for soccer, not meant for football. But that's issues for later. Let's go on to the NFC standings. It's only been one game. Eagles, Cowboys, of course, they're the only 2 teams that can win a game. The Giants and Commanders, not looking too good. How are you guys feeling about the standings for this year?
It's very early in the season. You can't really take much into week 1. I think the only thing we really can right now say is that the Giants have no shot of being a threat. I think that's the only thing we can really say right now. We'll see what happens, though, as the season progresses.
Yeah, and we'll see. And like you say with the Giants, I don't think the Giants will be much threats. Maybe the Commanders, we'll see. We'll see how Jalen Daniels does. I'm not really too worried about them, especially since we got one of their best receivers in Jahan Dotson. But let's talk about the next game is the Falcons, Monday Night Football, another primetime game, a common theme with the Eagles, lots of primetime games. How are we feeling about this, Riley? How do you think it's going to go?
I'm feeling pretty confident. We played Falcons last year. We didn't really have they don't really have any notable threats on that team. I feel like, especially with Barkley, seeing how Barkley played, that's definitely a threat that they're seeing going into the game. So hopefully we can kind of get in their heads and win. I feel like we're going to win.
Yeah, Tyler, what about you?
I'm excited to see this defensive line go up against Atlanta's offensive line that got chewed up and spit out by T.J. Watt and the Steelers last week. So when you got the guys that we got on our defensive line going up against that offensive line, I'm really excited to see that matchup.
I am too. I know it will be interesting, especially with the Falcons and Kirk Cousins and their new game. And I think the only really threat offensively is Bijan. He's going to be a machine to stop. It'll be tough, but I like going back what you guys said. It's the Falcons. I don't think they're really all that much of a threat against the Eagles, but you never know. Defensively, we have to watch it. But now, with being said, we have a new segment here, the Phillies. This is an interesting topic. The Phillies, there's been some ups and downs this summer, but right now we're actually doing pretty good. We've won the last 7 of their 10 games. Currently first in the East. So yeah, how are you guys feeling about the Phillies game or Phillies season so far?
I feel like we actually have been having a good season from I don't want to say from the start, because of course every starts off pretty rough, but like seeing how we are now and like where we are in these stats, we've been first for a while now, and like it's gotten to the point where they only have like 20 something games left. Is anyone touching us getting up to that rank? I don't know. It's in the air. Possibly not. But otherwise, they've been looking pretty good. They've had some questionable games just recently with the Marlins. They went 1-10 and like 9-5, and they lost, but put that past us.
Yeah, with the Phils, they have been interesting, but right now they have been actually on the winning side with things, which has been nice to see. We know everyone here in Philly wants to see them win, and the past couple seasons, they've gotten so close each time. I know this year we want to bring it home, and right now it's looking like that. Our guys are actually performing, some guys more than others. But at the moment, right now, our next game, looking forward, is the Rays. I know we won the last game 2-1. Riley, how are we feeling about this coming game?
I'm feeling pretty confident. It wasn't until towards the end where the Rays, I'm pretty sure it was literally top of the 9th or top of the 8th when they got their first home. But towards the end, the Phillies did play Buddy Kennedy, which was, we didn't really expect it, especially where we were. We were at 1-1. We wanted to get home. We wanted to get the extra point. We wanted to win. And he did kind of open a path for Cody Clemens to come in, hit the ball, get Bryce at home right at the bottom of the 9th, and we ended up winning the game. So I don't know what their strategy was, but it worked. And if they can keep doing similar stuff like that and bringing people home when needed, if they can't hit a home run, it'll work out.
Yeah, like you said, just bringing people home. I know hitting sometimes with the Phillies, they just seem like they can't hit a ball, even though we have a team of all-stars, it seems like. But yeah, so against the Rays, we're hoping to win that tonight. But let's go to the standings now. Phillies obviously top the NL East. And then the Mets right behind them with 79 games. Braves, Nationals, Marlins. I'm not too concerned, Riley. I don't know about you, but I think we have a good lead. I mean, I think the only real threat are the Mets, especially with the Braves. I mean, they don't have their best player. They've just been hit with injuries this season. So that's good for us. But, Riley, do you think this is how things are going to end?
Okay, so the standings, like I said, they're pretty up there. They're not really touchable right now. But also, I feel like they need to keep that same, I don't want to say energy, just the way that they're playing to be successful. As you can see, Marlins, not compared to the Phillies stats, 86-58, and the Marlins 54-90. That's not a team you want to lose 10-0 to. So, but I think, honestly, we're going to get to the playoffs. Hopefully we'll get further than that.
Yeah, we want to get at least a little further than last season. I know that it's always tough, but here at Redtober, everyone seems to be hyped up. But, Riley, what do you think what do we need to do differently? Because each year we get so close, but we cannot get that final bit.
They get in their heads. I'm pretty sure it's more of a personal thing, but they get in their heads. They're expecting Kyle Schwarber to hit a home run every game. Kyle Schwarber has hit home runs the past 2 games. But is the pressure going to keep building up? Is he going to keep doing that? Because last season, Red October, that's who we needed. That's who didn't perform. So I feel like that's what we need. We just need them to not get in their heads. They need maybe pitching could play a factor in that also. But otherwise, I just think it's more like a personal thing.
No, I would agree. Obviously, everyone just needs to be ready to play. I mean, right now, Kyle Schwarber, he has had 2 homers the last couple of games. But he's just dealing with an injury. Apparently, he's okay now, so we're good. But also, everyone just needs to step up. It can't be Kyle Schwarber. We need Trey to step up, Bryce to step up. Don't get thrown out of game for any fighting, nothing. Pitching's got to be up, which we definitely can do, the Phillies. But like you said, there's just something about them. They get in their own heads, and we can't do that. But let's segue into our next segment of the 76ers. So, guys, this has been an interesting offseason for the Sixers, to say the least. Lots of things have happened. We've signed Paul George, a massive deal. Let's talk about that first. It's a mega contract. How do you feel about this, Riley?
It's okay. I feel like Maxey and Embiid are looking for that third person. Is PJ going to be that third person? It's possible. It can be possible. But he's also not young. He's 34 years old, and he got a mega million contract, which is a little crazy. But I feel like if he does end up playing how he's played in the years past, we are one of the best teams in the NBA right now. We have that all-star team, and we just need to figure out what works and what doesn't and play at that.
Yeah, I personally am not the biggest fan of this Paul George contract. Like you said, this is a 34-year-old. Yes, it's Paul George, who is all-star, obviously, but he's old. He's not played a full season, I don't know how long, and we pay him all this money. Now we're stuck with him for 4 years and all this money. It's whatever, but let's just hope he actually can perform and he can be that third option, which the Sixers have been lacking for so long. But next, we have some new additions. We have Caleb Martin and Andre Drummond, and also this French guy, can't pronounce his name. We know we just got him from after the Olympics. But how are you guys feeling about these 2 new signings?
For me, I really like the Andre Drummond signing. It feels like we have been hoping and praying for someone viable to back up Joel Embiid. And we saw last year how bad we looked without him when he missed so many games last year with his injury. Bringing in Andre Drummond, he's obviously not Joel Embiid, but he's someone who is a serviceable guy who can give you valuable minutes, give Embiid a rest, give him a break so that Embiid is fresher come playoff time.
I agree. And I think the contract we gave Andre Drummond, a 2-year $10, that's really not that bad. I think give him a little bit. He has been, I know, not the best of recently, but he's kind of revived his career a little bit. He's not what he was at all-star level, but I think he's going to be a great backup to Joel Embiid. And next, we got some new rookies here in Philly. Some exciting rookies, actually. We have Jared McCain and Adem Bona. I know everyone here is excited for Jared McCain. We make him watch some TikTok videos after some wins. I know we're excited for it. Riley, how do you feel about Jared McCain, his new TikTok videos?
I know the social media team is so happy to have him. But speaking as a player now, Jared McCain, I feel like him and Maxey have very similar traits. I feel like they can really feed off each other, especially playing. I can see that be a good duo because we already have the Embiid and Maxey duo, but the McCain and Maxey duo is something that could definitely happen if he gets played with Maxey at the same time. I feel like right now he's kind of like a backup for Maxey.
No, yeah, he definitely be coming off the bench. We'll see how he does, see how he develops through this year. But we have some good vets for him. And the same thing with Adem Bona, this center out of UCLA. This guy looks like a pretty good guy. I mean, he was second-round pick, but he could have been in the first round. And he looks pretty good. He had really good stats for UCLA. He was very efficient. And honestly, for a minute there, I thought he was going to be the backup to Joel Embiid. But we got Andre Drummond. But I think having Andre Drummond and Joel Embiid, those are 2 fantastic vets for this guy. So how do you guys feel about Bona? Any confidence with this dude or not really?
I guess it's kind of wait and see. You know, we knew this was not the strongest draft class overall. It does help that he's behind Embiid and behind Drummond, so he's going to learn a lot at the same time. So I think for him, it's very important this year that he just learns, he develops. Maybe him being on the G League team this year would really benefit him. And then say he plays really well this year, Andre Drummond maybe doesn't work out, you've got a guy that can step right in and be that backup to Embiid.
Definitely. And we had some departures here. We had Nicholas Batum. I know he's a little fan favorite here in Philly. That is unfortunately sad. He went to the Clippers. But we had another guy who left, Tobias Harris. He's finally out of Philly. How are we feeling, guys? He's finally out. In Detroit, we're the idiots that took him. How do we feel about this?
I'm not going to lie. I'm upset. I'm
Really?
just kidding. No.
Oh, okay.
Harris did have his good years, but those years are in the past. And since Harden, I feel like I want to say that's when he really started going downhill. We needed to get rid of him 3 years ago. And he's pretty washed up, but now he can be washed up in Detroit.
Exactly. And they also paid him an interesting contract. But with that being said, we're going to the Sixers opening week. They have an interesting opening week here, playing against the Bucks starting off, then at the Raptors, then in Indiana, and then versus the Pistons to face Tobias Harris. So how do you feel about this opening couple games here, Riley?
So on paper, they do look like one of the best teams in the NBA, but there is a few practical realities that are bound to get in our way at some point, like every year. And these teams, I feel like, again, our biggest matchups is going to stay the Celtics and the Knicks. Overall, it's going to take time for newly constructed teams to actually work together and play as a team. But for now, I feel like these first couple games can definitely, like I said, be that game to figure out who to factor in here, who to put here, just to figure out everything while still trying to be good and win. because that's what we do. That's what we need. We need a winning streak.
Exactly. Well, how do you guys think we're going to get that winning franchise? How is this year going to be different from previous years?
I mean, it's it's one of those things where, like Riley said, it's just going to take time for this team to develop. I think the number one thing is health. It's kind of been what has hurt this team in the postseason before. I think, it's important. I think we have better depth than what we've had in previous years, which I think will help go a long way. And honestly, just to say, when we get to the playoffs, guys got to show up.
Exactly, Riley. What do you think? What do you think we got to do differently this year?
Fix Embiid now, not later.
Fix Embiid. I think I'm kind of in the same boat. I think what Tyler said, we have to stay healthy. We have to figure out that. And we just have to stay consistent. Play with each other. Like around. It will be good. All right, next, moving on, is the Flyers. Another interesting offseason. I know they did not end very good. They had a terrible end of their season, losing, I think, all of their last couple games. It was not good. But it's been a good offseason. We traded for Ivan Provorov, drafted Matev Mikov, and signed Ryan Pullen and Rhett Gardner. Now, to these guys, the person I think everyone in Philly should be really excited for is Matev Mikov. He's this Russian guy, or this Russian kid. He's only 19. He was supposed to stay in the Russian hockey league for at least 3 more years, but he came out early. He got his contract cut with that team, so that's something to be excited for. A new forward here in Philly. I know that hockey has not been the greatest here for a couple of years, unfortunately, but maybe this guy will give it a little boost. I know the Flyers last season actually were pretty good, but then we fell off at the end, and I think that just what played into that was just we didn't have that star power. We didn't have those people scoring enough goals. And this guy can be it. He can be that solution. Now, he's only a kid. He's 19. Let's not do anything crazy here. But he's going to have time to develop. He's only 19, and I think he'll be good. But preseason here is around the corner, and just today they actually released their roster with some of these new kids, including Michkov, who I think will be really good for the Flyers. But also, going back to the new guys that they signed, some center depth. Ryan Pullen and Rhett Gardner, these guys adding to the center room. I know that's been an interesting part of the Flyers team, but I think those new acquisitions, we should be good. And first preseason game going into that, September 22nd against the Capitals. That'll be interesting. I know Capitals rival team. It will be tough. But then also the first regular season game is against the Canucks, which will be interesting against the Canadian team. I know I'm very interested to see how these new guys do. Hopefully we can gel well as a team and get this Michkov, this Russian kid, out there going. I know Philly needs a hero, especially with the Flyers. It's been tough out here. But I think this guy, or this kid, he's still only 19, Jesus, can be it. And with the new centers, hopefully something kicks on with that. I don't know. How are you guys feeling about Flyers? Excited for the new season?
I'm definitely spectacle. So last year they just they got new coaching staff, which they were known, and people all had like good expectations for them. And I feel like the Flyers did have like a good run for like a month maybe, but then as per every other Philly sport, they fell down towards the end. So as long as we keep building up with these kids and these new players and the new staff, like not new anymore, but existing staff that can finally show what they can do, they could have some potential.
Definitely. And Tyler, you excited? Watch. I know hockey is your favorite thing, but it's something new. I think it will be good this year with this Mitchov guy.
Look, when you bring in guys like this, I think even if you don't expect the team to be good, they're always going to be, at the very least, an interesting watch. So while we don't expect this team to be a Stanley Cup contender, I think it's fair to say that it'll be interesting to watch how these guys develop.
Yeah. And in our last segment, we are going to talk about the Philadelphia Union, who have not been very good this year, unfortunately. Years past, they've been a staple of the Eastern Conference. But this year, they've not been good at all. They're currently 7-9-1. They've only won 1 of their last 5 matches, and they're currently not even in the playoff picture. They sit in 11th place, which is unheard of for this Union team over the past couple of years, and they're far behind in this playoff picture. So not really excited for that. I mean, there's been a lot of things that have contributed to this. Andre Blake has just now gotten back, and we had the Seminole guy, even though he's been good in goal. But it's really just been the players. There's kind of old. We haven't had any new signings, and we've gotten rid of players. Julian Carranza, who is arguably one of the best players last season and the start of this year, striker, He actually moved to Feyenoord in the Eredivisie in the Netherlands. So losing him was a huge loss, and that is shown this year. We just haven't been scoring goals, and we've been giving up stupid penalties and just have not been very good defensively. I know last season our big issue was on top of the box, just giving up that ball and not pressing, and that has continued to be an issue. But for some happy news, we have this kid, Kevon Sullivan. Probably some people have heard of him. He's this 14-year-old that has signed actually a contract in England with Manchester City, but he's too young. So he's right now playing with the Union, and his brother, Quinn Sullivan, is playing right now for the Union. So that's at least some exciting news with this Union team. It's been really tough, but I think going forward, we hopefully should be interesting, except our next game, which is going to be hard. September 14th, they play Inter Miami, then September 18th is NYFC, and then DC United. I know, as a Union fan, this would be tough. Inter Miami, best team, not only Eastern Conference, but in the league. Messi looks like he is going to be playing, which is very unfortunate because he's going to have an absolute field day with this Union defense. But in the other games, NYFC, a little bit tougher of a game still, but I think it's way more manageable than Inter Miami. So that's something to look forward to. And then DC United, they're also a tough team, and they're just ahead of the Union, actually sitting in 9th place in that qualification spot. 32 points. Union's only at 30. So it's one win. We're close. It will be tough, but within the standings, Union are 7 points behind automatic qualification, behind Orlando. That's in these next few games. Maybe Miami, they can't pick up any points, but in the next few games, we have to get points against NYFC and DC United. It's not like optional anymore. We have to do it for them to make playoffs. I don't think this team is a championship team, obviously not with Miami and some of the better teams in this league, but it's something to look forward to. And with that being said, it's time to wrap up this first episode of SportsTalk Philadelphia. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please check us out on our social media at SportsTalks LTV on X and Instagram, and please stay tuned for next week. We have a lot more to discuss. Philly sports, we know things happen every day, so it's going to be exciting. So thank you so much for watching, and bye for now. Peace.